Happy holidays and welcome to another edition of On the Bench with Columbus Wired. I'm Dave Seaman along with Justin Boggs. And with the holidays comes December. And with December comes the Jackets' woes. And 1 month ago, the Blue Jackets sat in a virtual tie for first place in the Western Conference. Here we are 4 weeks later, and the Jackets are 4 points out of the playoff line.
And they're right there by Calgary and Edmonton at the bottom of the West, too. 3-5-2 here in the month of December. They've only had 3 wins in, since that Detroit series, the 2-game series. Haven't really done very well. The one big thing that stands out to me, last 12 games, they have lost 6 games by at least 3 goals. A lot of blowouts. These haven't been a whole lot of pretty losses. They have been very ugly. These are embarrassing losses. That's what Arneal keeps talking to. He keeps pointing that these are embarrassing. He apologized to the fans after the Vancouver game. That's not something you want to do as a coach.
Well, and in talking about the Vancouver game, 7-3, 8-3, 7-3. Vancouver scores 3 goals in 14 minutes. It's a holiday crowd, a huge crowd, and everyone's taken out of it right away.
Yeah, well, that's another thing is that this team has only come back once all season when they're trailing through one period. They've not been resilient. They get down on themselves. They seem to go into their little safe mode and don't seem to try to fight that off. They just seem like they just go play whatever, go stand in the corner and watch the game.
Now, maybe part of the struggles, maybe not part of the struggles, has been the play of goaltender Steve Mason. Of course, he comes in this season as the top goaltender. He gets the 2-year contract extension. He's been pulled 4 times this year, and in the last 2 years, he leads the league in getting pulled.
Well, yeah, and he hasn't played very well. That's he'd say it himself. The one thing, though, is Garon hasn't been winning either. You look at last week against Vancouver. Scott Arneal says he pulled Garon simply out of mercy. He gave up 6 goals. A lot of those were on 2-on-1 breaks and, centering passes with no defenseman in the net to clear the puck. You're going to give up a lot of goals no matter how good you are.
And Steve Mason, yes, he's had some horrible games. Pittsburgh, for example. But the goaltending isn't totally at fault for this team's demise this month.
Well, a lot of it's the scoring, too. The scoring has been very bad. Nash hasn't scored in 7 games now. He's got to start scoring. He's your best scorer. He should be scoring a lot more than he is.
At this point, who are our best players?
Who are the best players? Well, you got to really think about that one because there hasn't been anyone who's been that good. I think Umberger has probably been the best, most consistent certainly. Nash hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been himself. He's been an average NHL player, and he needs to be better than that. The rest of the team, there's no one else that stands out.
What about from a defensive standpoint? I mean, I know I personally harped on Mark Mathot all last season, and yet he's been our best defenseman this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would even throw Klesla in that mix, too. I think Klesla has been good despite the fact that he apparently is in Arneal's doghouse. The players you got to look at who haven't been stepping up, obviously Antoine Strawman. Strawman has made a ton of mistakes. He's supposed to be an offensive guy, hasn't really produced any offense.
And that's a guy who's been in and out of the lineup all season, really.
Absolutely, and Chris Russell they expect more offense from, too. He hasn't been providing it.
What do you think it's going to take to really get the Blue Jackets out of this really December swoon?
A trade. You need to shake it up a little bit. Right now, 2 straight seasons, middle of the season, they faltered. They say the solution is within. I think also, maybe most importantly, the problem is within.
Expand on that. And what I mean by that is, when you talk about what Scott Housen has done with this team since the playoffs, he got rid of 3 centermen. He brought in Samuel Folson, which has been a decent pickup. But beyond that, really, what has he done?
They lack leaders. They lack a Michael Pekka. They lack a Jason Williams. They lack a Manny Malhotra. Those guys were not just centermen. They were leaders on this team. They were outspoken, and they really did well leading these young guys. No offense to Rick Nash. I don't think he's the most outspoken guy to get the younger guys going. I think they need some more outspoken leader within the locker room.
A guy like Umberger.
A guy like Umberger would be a good example. They need maybe, as I said, Williams, Pekka, those guys. They need those type of players. They need a Sean Horskopf. He comes to mind from Edmonton.
Moving forward, the Jackets in Toronto Thursday night before ending 2010 or 2010 at home against the Ottawa Senators. I hear Pascal Leclerc's injured again, so he won't be here.
Oh, well.
That was one of Howson's great trades. Antoine Vermette's been a great pickup.
Absolutely. Biggest thing to look for, though, we have now 8 of the next 10 games on the road. This stretch was an opportunity loss for the Blue Jackets. It really was. If they wanted to be in the playoffs this year, they needed to play well. They did not. I think it might be a little bit too late for them.
8
already. I mean, they're not far out of it, but it's only going to get tougher.
Well, and that's just it. The Jackets started the season 8-1 on the road. They have yet to win, or they have not won a road game since they beat the Islanders in overtime or in a shootout the day before Thanksgiving. And now the Jackets go on the road. They're on the road the entire month of January with only 3 games here inside Nationwide Arena.
They needed to get some wins going into that. These next few games are important because this team has done well against Eastern Conference opponents. Pretty much anybody in the West has done well against Eastern Conference opponents. And the other thing is that, of course, they had a lot of home games. They're going to get, they have one more, it's still a winnable game here tonight. And then they have a couple more winnable games here to wrap up 2010. Got to get a couple wins under their belt. They haven't won 2 in a row since mid-November.
So anyway, we would, of course, like to thank everybody and wish everybody a happy New Year. For Justin Boggs, I'm Dave Seaman. So long till next time.